Hi everyone, Erica Farmer here at World of Learning October 2025 on behalf of AI for the Average Joe podcast show. We're here to interview some of the thought leaders, some of the attendees and people who've attended this year's conference to really find out what's going on right now. So let's go. From what you've heard or experienced today, what's the one practical change you're going to take back to your organisation to make learning stick?
There's a lot of noise at the moment around technology, and you can see it at this conference today. You need to cut through that noise. So the one practical tip that I'm going to take back is that I'm going to reassess what people are already doing, how they're already learning, and then look at what I can do to accelerate and scale that across the organisation, rather than trying to think that people need something new. I'm going to try and look at what works and scale that across the business.
I think the practical change is really focusing on connecting those dots between learning, the skills the business needs, and the outcome we're trying to drive. And I think doing that up front is really the takeaway, rather than retrofitting and trying to figure out what impact your learning is happening, really having that conversation up front to go, what's that metric we're trying to move, what are the skills that are required to do that, and what learning is really going to help us build those skills, and then being able to connect those dots to tell that story back.
For me, it's how you create a sense of community. So that's in the conversations or relationships that you have when you're on the exhibition floor or within the conference, and also understanding how you create the right environments for that to happen within an organisational context.
So for me, it's got to be evidence-based practice. There's lots of thinking whirling around, but we need to nail this down to what really works and why. So I'm really interested in the sessions which are providing real insights about how to take learning and learning solutions and have a real impact in the workplace based on evidence.
I think for me it's about answering what the business wants, so not trying to drive a learning agenda, actually driving the business agenda and making sure that we are delivering for the business. That way people will want to come to us.
I think the thing that we need to do to make learning stick is to learn that learning doesn't all take place into our jurisdiction. And it's the exciting things that we can do back into the world of work which are important. And for me, it's all about how do we connect with the managers? How do we help them do their job smarter and better so that they're creating environments in which their teams can thrive and flourish?
So there was actually something around the neurodivergent community that I really enjoyed today, and how accessibility is sometimes really focused on, but inclusivity is left behind. So actually making sure that whenever we're delivering learning, whether it is digitally focused or in person or virtually, that we consider both accessibility and inclusivity to make a difference and to add value to that community.
I think the idea of being very focused around future capability as well as current capability, this idea of being focused on how can we help organisations, individuals, teams to really think not just about what it is they need now, today, tomorrow, the week after, but also how we scaffold what goes next. Really important.
Actually, that's just the last session I did with Susie and I think it was Emma about accessibility and inclusivity. I realized I think I want to go back to some of my content materials and just double check, am I really considering all these different accessibility needs? Because I think I do some of it because I have myself a visual impairment, so I'm pretty aware of that, but I'm not so sure about some of the others, so I want to double check.
Now let's talk about the digital buzz. AI and digital platforms are everywhere this year. What's the one thing that really excites you about that? And what's the one thing that you're really worried about how people are using these things?
What excites me the most is, I think the best application for this kind of technology is it's solving my biggest pain point, which is you deliver some training or learning to a group of people within your organisation. The reason you've been asked to do that is because something needs to change. And now you can apply that technology to get that transfer of learning into the workplace, and you can actually observe and get data and measurements and analytics on the degree to which that has scaled into the business and how it's impacted performance. And I think that is where this technology can act as an extension of the good work we do in L&D.
Yeah, so what worries you about that then?
What worries me is, it's a question I think I have for the industry, and have we forgotten about that feedback loop? I'm all about high value versus low value activity and tasks. And if you assess where your team is spending your time, you can use technology to become more efficient and automate those kind of low value tasks. But you've got to loop that into investing in those kind of higher value skills at the same time, or you won't be creating any additional value to the business. So the two go hand in hand, and I'm worried that we're just doing one without the other.
What excites me about AI is, for the first time ever, I think we can really personalize learning in a way that's meaningful for the individual, right down to what skill they need and what's that knowledge gap they have, and to be able to tailor the experience in a way that's meaningful for them, down to their role, their interests, their context, to make that really meaningful in a way that they engage with it, they retain it, and they're more likely to be able to apply it, because AI can also create the space for them to apply it and get instant feedback. So I think I talk about in my book this idea of a learning flywheel, and essentially getting people to learn, practice, get feedback, and create experiences that dynamically meet those needs. It's a really hard thing to do for a team of humans, but AI allows you to do that at scale and in a way that just wasn't possible before. So I'm really excited for that. What I'm worried about is whether we use AI for kind of low-hanging efficiency gains, and we don't really look beyond that around how we can use AI to be more effective, right? We're still looking to climb those small hills in the park rather than venturing out to climb the highest peak in the park. And I really want us to take a step back and go, what are you using AI for? No one gets to keep their job for missing the target, but just being more efficient at doing it. So we really need to take a step back and think about how we're using AI and be more informed about how we do that.
For me, there's a real sense of how do we lean into the human side of what we do, who we are, how we do it, what performance looks like, but how do we do that in a way that leverages technology and enables us to be better humans, be better people, and do our jobs better. So that's what excites me. I think there's always a worry about what does the future look like? How does what I'm doing going to change in the future? And that's something that you just have to kind of take on the chin, I suppose, and think, actually, I need to be adaptable, and I think the only thing that's certain is the uncertainty, ultimately.
So what really excites me about the tech is finally we have tools which can allow us to provide performance support in the moment. So often technology has been divorced from the workplace. We kind of go and do some e-learning, but now we've got the opportunity to provide technology for people to use when they need it. So that's a really important one for me. What worries me is there is a gap between vendors and purchasers. So somehow we need to have great consultative conversations where we really understand what we're trying to solve.
I think all technology is really, really positive. I think it makes learning much easier, much more accessible. I think my one concern is probably that we're just looking at AI at the moment. I think there's a real learning trend that if you want to talk about learning, you want to talk about AI. Actually, it's one facet of the learner experience. So don't go all in on AI, actually keep your eyes open for what else is going on as well.
What excites me about technology, and I've been looking at technology for the last 20 years, all the new things coming on. But I think what allows me to be excited in this environment is the fact that it's making it easier for technology to help us transfer real skill, real practice, real environments, real support back into the work. It makes it so much easier for us to be able to go beyond the content. But what worries me is this kind of sense of, David Wilson called it the conspiracy of convenience. When business leaders say to L&D, give me a course, and L&D goes, oh yeah, I can give you a course. Yes, when? AI allows that conspiracy to be accelerated. What actually happens is that AI can respond faster. And so we can get more and more content out there without anyone questioning, why are we doing this? And what kind of real business transformation can we actually impact as a result of that? So I'm excited about the potential of technology to be able to help us really support how humans learn in the live workplace. But I'm worried that it's going to accelerate the conspiracy of convenience.
So for me at the moment, it's exploring what you possibly have in-house, but also what is possibly out there in the market, because there's always obviously new organisations, new suppliers, obviously those tech and those platforms.
So what worries you most about these things?
I think what worries me most is, as working in the L&D industry for a long time now, is people jumping on the bandwagon and are not really thinking about the why first. So, a bit like following sheep. You're ultimately then going, oh, this organisation is doing this, so we should do it, rather than really looking within and kind of going, well, what is the need for it? Where are we actually in terms of our journey? And what's our starting point, and actually what is our utopian, what's our North Star, and then working out the plan from there, and then obviously making sure that you're utilising what you have or you don't have appropriately.
Let's deal with the last one first. What worries me most is around people using it for content creation. Nick Shackleton-Jones on this stage a year ago talked about creating more crap more quickly. We are doing that with spades on now. It is absolutely going mental for stuff. So I'm bothered about the amount of, well, not the amount of, the lack of imagination about how we use this terrific tool. Where I think it excites me, where I'm using it, and we're baby steps still, still getting used to it, as are many people, I think. But I think where we are using it to support workplace transfer, to enable people to be more self-sufficient in their use and application of new skills, that's really exciting.
Well, let me start with the worry, because I think that's a little bit more. I actually do get a little bit overwhelmed by all this tech, I have to say, and sometimes I'm just worried that with all of it, are we losing the human connection now? I think that's my biggest worry, but also in the spirit of accessibility, is tech really making it, inclusive for everyone? It kind of just seems that the ones with the money, maybe with access to a computer and all of that, will benefit from tech. But there's so many frontline workers as well that I especially work with in hotels and hospitals and transport. Is this, is on the one hand, I guess there's an opportunity, but I'm a little bit worried, is it really taking all of that into consideration? So it excites me from a transfer perspective, because I think, especially with some of the AI coaching that's out there, you can actually extend your learning journeys much more, and all of a sudden make coaching, for example, a lot more accessible to a lot of people and scalable. But yeah, it's kind of a little bit of that two sides, like connections and are we really making it accessible for everyone?
And what's the one habit you personally enforce in your team or organisation to make sure learning does get used and it's not just delivered?
The one habit I enforce to make sure learning gets used, the transition across to the workforce. So everyone in my team, whenever we develop a program, it's not just the program, we're all involved in coaching and observing how those skills end up in the workplace so that we can feedback and continuously improve. So that ethos of continuous improvement only comes from observing and seeing what's worked. So observe what you've done, observe it in the workplace, and take that back into what you're doing.
I think one of the habits I drive is really for everyone to be a chief tinkerer, right? To constantly learn, you need to constantly tinker. And I think that's no more true than the world we live in right now. There is so much AI technology and tools that are readily available to us. And really it comes down to, have you got the curiosity to go and tinker? And when you're tinkering, is asking yourself, are you pushing it to its limits, right? I think a great example of this is, I know many people, the first time they used ChatGPT was to create an image in Studio Ghibli style. That's a choice you have to make, right? Like whether you use the most incredible technology to create a Studio Ghibli image or you use it to do something incredible you couldn't have before, comes down to you. And I think that all starts with tinkering, and that starts with curiosity. So driving that as a habit is key.
It's the communication afterwards. So learning isn't a one-stop shop. It's something that is continual, that you need to build on, that you need to take away and actually practically apply. So for me as a manager, it's checking in with people as to what have you covered, what have you done, how are you building on what we've shared, and checking that keeps going in that kind of continual motion. And that for me is where learning really happens. It's in the application, it's in the building on it, it's understanding how it applies to what you do in your role.
So for me, reflective practice is the game changer. It always has been, but now I think we're seeing a resurgence around people just taking a moment to stop and think and reflect. So for me, whatever you're doing, it has to be those moments where you can just understand what the situation is and how you can best respond to them. So reflective practice is a brilliant option to do that.
talking about what we've learned, talking about how we're actually going to embed. I'll go back to my team and I'll talk about the conference today and about all of the things that I have learned, all the things that I've taken away. So making sure that it's a live conversation. We need to lead by example, and making sure that there are takeaways. So it's not, what am I going to do in 3 months' time? It's what am I going to do today with this? What am I going to do tomorrow? What is that first step that I can take?
I think the habit that I've seen really impactful in some of the studies and research that I've done and talking to people is the ability to write a field or keep a field notebook, jotting down our observations. What are we seeing? What are we hearing? How did I respond to things? And just to reflect, just for a couple of minutes at the end of the day, at the end of the week, in order to build up an understanding of how we operate in the workforce and how we use our influence back into the workforce. Because I think our own agency is going to be one of the most powerful things that we can offer back. And the field notebook allows us to tap into ourselves and how we're responding to the world around us.
So I always have this mantra around effort versus impact and how what you do is adding value. I've seen everything from L&D being used as order takers to L&D being really, really strategic. And I think for me it is a combination of both being tactical and having presence, but also being very transformational and being quite strategic. So the things that we go after and the things where we spend most of our efforts is actually looking at how we're going to add value first, what problems are we trying to solve, and what that return on investment and the return on expectations is going to be to the organisation. So always looking at everything that we do and optimising that the best in terms of obviously being able to deliver for the organisation, and also in terms of elevating yourselves as an L&D team. Like, how can we constantly be moving the bar where we need to dial up and where we need to dial down?
Constantly talk about learning journeys rather than learning events. So I have banned the use of pre-work, not the use of activities before people attend a course, just calling it pre-work, because otherwise it's not taken seriously. I have banned the use of the idea of the course having an evaluation sheet at the end of it, because that suggests that the event has finished the process. All the focus is around workplace learning. So one of my big things is we set goals for learners within the programs that we create. None of those goals are related to anything that they do other than workplace transfer.
One habit, that's actually a very difficult one. The main thing is that we really just, and I know that sounds very simple, but just to make sure we don't think about learning as an event, but as a journey. So transfer and making learning stick starts already way before. So I always, with the teams, we always look at curating, no matter what format it is, a journey where you cannot weave in a lot of those application opportunities. I guess as a very simple thing is also not issuing certificates of attendance, not focusing on completion, but really focusing on implementation. And we only issue, for example, certificates for implementation once we've seen the proof that someone is using what they've learned.
So that's me, Erica Farmer from Quantum Rise Talent Group for the AI for the Average Joe podcast show. It's been fantastic listening to so many insights from our practitioners and thought leaders today at the NEC World of Learning October 2025. Thank you so much for watching today's episode, and I look forward to seeing you on another episode of AI for the Average Joe soon.